current and ex-employee allege Google drastically rolled back diversity and inclusion programs in order to please conservatives. How stupid must you be in order to believe something like this? I don't remember conservatives ever complaining that Google has diversity and inclusion programs. Like, this was never the beef. The beef were like leaked footages where people from inside Google were saying, we can't let another Trump victory happen again, or something in the similar lines. You know, people hugging and crying after Donald Trump won the election. That's what people were complaining. No one complained that Google has like some diversity and inclusion programs. But then I looked at who made this article, and it's apparently one April Glazer, and this is why I drive a lot of doubt regarding this story. You see, I remember the name quite clearly because several months ago, as I was talking about a different story, I see April Glazer there, and I'm like, haha, look, April, like April O'Neil from the Ninja Turtles, and that name stuck with me. And the story was about a person, an activist, by the name of April Glazer, which is the same person, who contacts Chase Bank and says in an email,
Hi there, I am April, a journalist at Slate, writing to ask if JP Morgan Chase is aware that the Proud Boys affiliated online store 1776.shop uses Chase Payment Tech as its processor. Because I got redirected from the found.west.org, which the Proud Boys founder Gavin McGinnis is cited as the legal defense fund of the Proud Boys. The Proud Boys are designated by the Southern Poverty Law Center as a hate group, and members have engaged in group violence in Portland and New York City. The group has been suspended by Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Is the usage of Chase Bank in support of such groups against Chase's policy? On a deadline. Many thanks, April.
and then April Glazer publishes the article about Chase Bank deplatforming these people. And it's like, okay, so you're a journalist that actually created the news. That's highly unethical. You know, like you already written the article and you waited for the firing just to get the biggest amount of clicks. So yes, that is an activist tactic. And this person is obviously a social justice activist and is writing about this. Yeah, I see a big conflict of interest there, NBC News. This is not okay. But yeah, I do not doubt for a second that Google is probably reducing their diversity officers and lowering the pay. Yeah, maybe this is true. But I don't think it's to please conservatives. In fact, Google denies that this is the case. It's absolutely ridiculous. Conservatives really do not care if you want to waste money and pay up to $200,000 a year for a person that works a couple of hours a day, sending a couple of emails and having a few presentations here and there. And the rest of the time while they're at work, they drink wine with the rest of the people from the HR team. Meanwhile, the actual employees that do the actual work, like the IT guys, they have to crunch the numbers and spend all the way up to 10 hours, 11 hours at work, sometimes even Saturday. It's a joke, especially if you think about a place like California now, that's a blue state. You're telling me that if you hire people there, they're going to be racist and start attacking each other unless you pay a person up to $200,000 a year so that they can lecture and send them emails and straighten them up. I mean, people just can't stop being racist unless you have these diversity officers patrolling the premises, making sure that everyone has the correct thoughts. Diversity and inclusion or whatever. It's really about political commissars that enforce a particular ideology and have connections to people in the media. Like, how did this article get leaked to April Glazer? You have to wonder. The moment these people are starting to hurt financially, and because there's an economic crisis, I'm pretty sure that Google decided to cut a little bit of funding here and there, and heaven forbid if they cut from their propaganda team. Immediately there's an article and it's like, oh no, Google is appeasing to the right-wingers. Because they know how these people react, the leftist activists. Like the moment Zuckerberg had a dinner with Tucker Carlson, and I think with Ben Shapiro as well, the left freaked out. The left freaked out, like, oh my god, how dare you talk with these people and see that they are human beings just like everyone else, and they're not as bad as the left actually tried to portray them to be. So yeah, I mean, there was a massive freak out about Facebook going far right or something like that, and then you see Facebook having a Supreme Court that is filled with people from the Guardian, left-leaning sources, and people who like the Muslim Brotherhood. Yeah, absolutely. But no, like, this is not about left-right issue. It's about some of the friends of April Glacier, I guess, who are now afraid that they might get fired. They're afraid that because of the economic downturn, Google might actually have to start cutting a little bit of the funds from the diversity team. It's a really wonderful job if you think about it. It's an absolute dream job. You get to work at Google. You get to write a couple of emails a day, like I said, sitting in your private office with air conditioning, looking above the mortals that are under your control, who have an open office and are slaving there, like little drones, and you sit above in your ivory tower in your little golden throne and make everyone quake and fear as you walk over there because you might find something problematic with what they tweeted or what they said recently. No, it's also creating a very hostile work environment. Like, imagine how it is. Look at the things that we know, like the James Damore lawsuit, right? Imagine the idea of working there as a guy and constantly being told that you're the sick son of a bitch that manages to keep women out of tech. And that is like official. You can't question it. You can't question, like, it's your fault. You are the problem why more women don't want to get into the industry. How do you feel? And if you have someone that says, well, maybe there's another reason, like, have you looked at all the aspects? I don't know, like, let's just say maybe some people aren't interested in this job position. Like, not everyone is cracked up to be an IT specialist. I, for example, wouldn't want to code. A lot of female journalists find the idea of telling them to learn to code to be so offensive that Twitter started banning people. So no, if you suggest any other possibility, no, you're against the consensus, and then you get fired. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's a really nice work environment you got there. Constantly blaming and making your employees feel like they're guilty for the world's issues. So yeah, I really weep for these people getting fired and having their wages cut. Yes, absolutely, they were pivotal for the functioning of Google. I'll tell you what, if you fire all the people like James Damore, Google can't function. But if you fire all the people from diversity and inclusion, Google will still be diverse and inclusive, but it will also still function. There was even a study that showed that these people don't even increase diversity and inclusion. Because it's not about diversity and inclusion, it's about ideological compliance. But again, I haven't seen conservatives on the ones that are more popular to even address this issue. Like, they're probably not even in the know. They probably don't even care. It's like, who cares if a company hires a diversity and inclusion team? It's like, as long as the company puts out the product, that's it. The only thing they care is leaked footages from inside the Google team saying that, yeah, we don't want another re-election of Trump. Because then the conservatives go like, well, maybe we should pass some legislation to make them choose if they're a platform or a publisher. If they're a platform, okay. If they're a publisher, then, everything that's published by Google should be held to the same standard like if Fox News were to say something. If Tucker Carlson says something slanderous against me, I don't have to sue the Tuck. No, I sue Fox News, the corporation. And it's the same for literally every single other publisher. If a publisher publishes something illegal, then you sue the publisher. You don't have to sue the actual person that did the publisher. If April Glacier here were to break a law and violate some of my rights, I don't have to sue her. I would sue CBS News, because that's the difference between a platform and a publisher. But anyway, right, so she even talks about a well-liked diversity training program. Liked by whom? By what statistics? Why do you pull this out of your ass? Clearly it wasn't so well-liked if it got rid of. Okay, and it was pushing this pseudoscience, just so you can understand the type of stuff that Google is cutting. It was this pseudoscience about implicit bias, okay? And there's like this thing on the internet where you get to see like white faces and you have to press 2 buttons. And then you see like black faces and you have to press several buttons. It's a bullshit study. Like even the people that made that said in their own program that it's not meant to be taken as a scientific thing. It was like just a test that they were doing. And yet, if you look at a couple of these IT companies, they actually take this test seriously, as if it follows your reflexes more than anything else. Implicit biases, my God. And even if people have implicit biases, like, how is this not thought policing? Like, how can you do this without calling it literally thought policing? And is thought policing something that is desirable? Like, I'm literally curious at this point. You know, like, if someone manages to go to work and behaves in a normal way and is friendly to his coworkers and doesn't create any problem, what is the issue? Oh, no. You see, what if he is thinking deep inside and all right. So basically, like these fascist fucks, if they would have access to Cerebro and Charles Xavier's mind reading abilities, they would put them to good use, wouldn't they? And how many people, and it's also assumed it's like the Adam sin, you know, the sin from the apple. It's like, no, everyone has implicit biases. How do you know? How can you possibly know that literally every single person has implicit biases? And if there are like 10% of people who don't, why would you persecute them like the people that do? It's just awful. It is awful. Like, imagine you go to work and instead of coding and doing your job, you have to go to these seminars where they further lecture you about implicit biases and other bullshit. How do other countries function though without this? Huh? How does China function without having people with implicit bias? Do you know what China does? They hire ushi-kushi girls. They hire cute little girls in order to raise the morale of the IT company. That's a communist country, by the way. Like, that is a communist country that does this practice. And meanwhile, you look at California, it's like, okay, how do you find, how do you raise the morale at work? Well, we tell our workers that they're pieces of shit for what they're thinking implicitly. Yeah, no, I think even the people at Google, the actual IT people, you know, the ones that actually make things work, yeah, they're probably happy that this is going away. And let's be honest, it's probably not going away. It's just being cut a little and probably outsourced. Yes, they're going to probably bring, you know, like a person that does the diversity now via a contract rather than having it as a permanent position, so that the company can pay less money and still have their ideological propagandists. That's about all. Peace out.